Hey everyone, welcome back to Rhythm Railroad. I've started some work on my industrial area and I figured I'd show you the progress as I go through it. I was going to do this last on my layout, but I got inspired by some videos on switching and decided to just take the plunge and get started with it. The area that I chose to use for my industrial area is a bit awkward to work in because it's more deep than it is long. So getting the track work to reach the back of the area is a bit of a challenge. The room that I'm using for my layout is awkward to begin with and has a lot of ins and outs, just like the one you see here. And it's been a real challenge, but I think the track plan that I've come up with right now for this sort of switching puzzle might work. All the tracks that I've put down right now are not glued and are not wired yet, so there's no power running through them. What you see here is the manifest train pulling up on the main line, which is powered, and it's about to drop off loaded cars for 3 out of the 4 industries that I have here. So as the manifest train leaves the cars that are not being delivered behind and just pull up to the turnout, the brakeman will switch the turnout and we'll start to deliver the cars that are going to be transferred over to each and every facility. I'm using a switching engine that's part of the facility or the industry area because the large equipment cannot fit in there and cannot make the turns. And also there are facing and trailing points everywhere. And so I need a small engine to kind of use to get 1 or 2 or 3 at most cars into the facilities accordingly. The 4 facilities that I have in place right now are as follows. There's a big paper mill on the right side here. It's the first one you'll see with the wood chip Southern cars there. And that's the building with the dark brick and also the lighter tan building behind it. It's part of that facility, and it receives wood chip cars and also 3 50-foot box cars for paper deliveries. Also in the back, I want to make some kind of either propane company or some kind of small chemical company. And that's where you see the tank in the center of the area here, back there. It's supposed to. I was hoping to deliver more than 1 tank, but as of right now, it looks like it's just going to be able to hold 1 tank, because of the lack of room to go back and forth with more than 1 or 2 cars. Then over to the left is our furniture company, and that's going to receive 2 40-foot cars, box cars, and also some center beam cars that are delivering the lumber that is being used to make the furniture. The tracks that you see being loaded up right now are basically holding tracks in order to deliver or set up trains that are either arriving or departing. Obviously, I don't have the length here to be able to just drop off a string of cars, that consists of 10 or 15 cars or so. So I have to break up the train into smaller segments, and I have 2 lines right now, 2 tracks that can be filled up right now, but I think I might have to even add a third. I've also added a transfer house on one of the tracks here, just to make things a little bit more interesting, in that if you wanted to spot a car there that would be transferring goods from one car to the next, there'd be just one other switching step that would be optional, depending on how you set up the switching puzzle that day. Obviously, you could also transfer over to trucks from the other side. So that's optional. The last industry, which you cannot see right now, is located on the other side of this area here. And I wanted to just develop some kind of industry that would receive coil cars, steel coil cars, and That one was the only one that I wanted to be larger, where you could drop off basically 8 to 10 cars in one shot. So that's why we have a spur coming from the other side of the track, which is designated just for that one industry. Um, I don't know what the industry is going to be making yet. Originally, I was going to do a canning factory, and that's what the coils were for. But I wanted to go a little bigger. Obviously, if it's receiving that much material, it would probably be something more like for making large scale items. So I'll be figuring that out and naming it later on. But anyways, the that spur goes directly into the wall, and then there's going to be a hole in the wall that I can push the cars all the way in, and that's why it allows me to put a longer set of cars in. Unlike the other industries that are in this area, can only receive three cars at most. All right, so the manifest train is making its last split here, and it's leaving the wood chip cars on this runaround track because again, there's not any more room left for these cars to just be set up, in one line. So it's actually breaking the delivery cars or the cars that are going to be delivered in three segments. So as the manifest train breaks off here and goes about reconnecting to the caboose and the rest of the cars that it dropped off, it'll be on its way. Since I don't have any power going to the tracks right now inside of the industrial area, what I've decided to do is use a car, one of my log cars, that is basically the size of my switcher engine. It's slightly shorter by like a millimeter. So I have to do everything by hand right now since I have no power, and so I figured I'd use that car. It looks different, and it'll be easily recognized as you watch me switch all these industries manually. The biggest challenge I ran into in designing the track work for this area was the setup of the leads for each turnaround point. So not only did I have to get the locomotive in, but I had to be able to squeeze the right amount of cars in accordingly so that I would be able to access each one of the industries with the right amount of cars. I also didn't want to cherry pick that much, so I was hoping that I could combine certain things at certain points of the switching in order to make it all work out. So I was down to basically the millimeter in setting these things up and making sure the turnouts cleared as I got the train into the leads for the turnaround move. The other thing is that I had to make sure that I had a runaround track that was big enough and somehow squeeze it into this tight area to accommodate the right amount of cars. So I was able to get a runaround track set up that allows me to switch basically three 50-foot cars easily. I can get two 70-foot cars very easily in there, and obviously the shorter cars are not a problem. But my main concern was to get the three cars that are going into the paper mill, which is the largest load, and also the wood chip cars. So as you can see, I'm using the log car here as my locomotive. It was set up in the short lead behind the warehouse, and now it just went over to the paper mill to pick up the two empty wood chip cars. So as I went into the lead, I was able to clear the turnout. As you can see, it was very, very close, but I am able to get that turnout going. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically spotting these very, very long cars here because I have nowhere to put them while I get everything else going. So next I will go back and grab the wood chip cars that were originally left by the manifest train on the runaround track. So I'm lining up my turnouts and I'm making sure that I'm clear to attach the locomotive to the four wood chip cars that are waiting and that are loaded because they're going to be delivered to the paper mill. This is one tricky situation that I ran into as I was planning this, because these wood chip cars are shorter, but there are going to be four of them delivered rather than two very long ones. I believe these wood chip cars are 40 foot long cars. And I'm not even sure the length of the other wood chip cars, but I'm assuming they're longer than 70. I'm not sure. So as I deliver the wood chip cars, the loaded ones, to the factory, what I imagine is that these wood chips are going to be placed outdoors next to the building, so that either a conveyor belt, a portable conveyor belt can unload them, or there might be some kind of dumping mechanism under the tracks that would allow for the wood chips to be transferred from the cars underground through conveyor belts or tunnels over to the factory. Now the locomotive is picking up the loaded cars. These are boxcars that have been loaded up with paper packs and whatever other paper material they've developed here in this factory, and is going over to the customers that have ordered the paper. I'm going to use the runaround track to push these three boxcars. These are 50-foot cars around, and clear the runaround track, so then I can come back and pick up the empty boxcars. One thing to keep in mind here is that I have to remember that as I pull cars out of the facilities, I have to be able to put them somewhere. So I'm constantly thinking of where I can store them while I make the switches without fouling up the main line. That was my goal from the beginning when I designed this, that I wanted to do most of the work without having to go onto the main line at all. And so, that also created a little bit of a challenge. Now, this move I learned from watching a video, actually, DJ's Trains, who's I love his videos. He demonstrated a little move like this, not exactly like this, but he did say that this happens where the locomotive has a load in front and behind, and is able to both pull and shunt the stuff around. So what I'm doing here is pulling the empties that are going to be placed in the facility, placing them on the runaround track. You'll see me do like a double take here, because I was going to do something else, and then I realized I don't have room for that. So I'm placing them here, which is kind of what I designed this runaround track to do, is to hold three 50-foot cars comfortably. And then taking the full cars and temporarily putting them on the other side of the runaround track. Now, obviously, one side of the runaround track has a little bit more room in reference to the lead than the other side. So I have to be cautious as to how I place the cars. In this case, they're exactly the same length, or it doesn't matter. And everything changes, obviously, if you have different size cars that you're switching around within this runaround. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going on the other side of the runaround track, and I'm taking the cars that are going into the facility. These would be the empty box cars that are going to be loaded with paper goods. So obviously now I can pull these back, and three cars are able to obviously clear the switch without a problem here. So this turnout is way further into the runaround track, and that's why I have no problems getting the three cars in there. So as I get these three box cars into the facility, the next step is to start clearing out all the cars that I've been leaving around the tracks. So I have the wood chip cars to worry about. I have the three box cars that I just left on the runaround track. And even though, this is basically a one locomotive job, it's not like it's getting in the way. There is a road that you see. I painted it in just so I kind of got an idea of where the road's going to land, that is being blocked right now. So I'm trying to do my best to get these cars out of the way, out of the road, as soon as I possibly can, to allow the trucks to go in and out of the facilities. So now I'm backing up the engine all the way and just clearing that turnout as we did before. And then going into the runaround track on the opposite side of the box cars, so that I can get behind the boxcars and then attach myself once again from both ends, like I did with the first set of boxcars. Now, what this is going to allow me to do is pull the boxcars back, and since I've been able to clear one of those holding tracks that was used by the manifest train originally, I can now use that space that's open to store these 3 boxcars that are loaded and waiting in this backtrack here, and then try to figure out where I'm going to put the empty wood chip cars. Obviously, this is going to be a little tricky once again because I have cars that need to be delivered to the facilities in the back that are in this holding track, and I have to somehow get the wood chip cars in there. So the next move is to figure out how I'm going to go about both pulling those loads out and also putting the wood chip cars in their place. So because, again, of the limited space, I can't pull 5 cars, meaning the 2 center beam cars, the 2 40-foot box cars, and the tank car back there. I can't pull all those at the same time because I have nowhere to put them. So what I'm doing right now is taking the wood chip cars and using them to just allow me to pull the center beam cars only out. And the 2 center beam cars are 70-footer cars, so I'm able to put them in the runaround track temporarily while I put the wood chip cars in their place and have them out of the way so I can do the rest of the work. So again, I'm going back to my runaround track, which obviously is getting a lot of traffic. So I'm glad I built them right here because it seems like a good place for them. I'm dropping off the center beam cars temporarily, like I said, and now I'm going to take these wood chip cars and put them back where those center beam cars were. So as the wood chip cars are being placed on the holding track, obviously they're going to have to be pulled once again in order to get those 2 40-foot box cars and the tank car out, because those need to be delivered to the facilities in the back. But since our leads are very short, I only have room to do 2 of these center beam cars, so that'll be the next step. We're going to latch on to this 2-car consist here in this direction because it's going to be a facing switch as we get to the facility. So I have to basically flip this turnout here and then pull the cars, get onto the next lead, which is behind the paper company, the paper mill, and then from there switch once again and then shove the cars over to the company. So as you can see, I'm making my way behind the paper mill here. I tried to put this track back here kind of hidden on purpose to make it look like it's longer than it really is, but obviously it's very limited. But it gives me just enough room to get these cars switched out. I'm using the loaded cars that I'm going to deliver to pull the empty cars that you see here from the preferred track. And the reason I say the preferred track is because it's the track that's closer to the building, which allows the forklifts and anything that might be unloading these cars easier access to it rather than going all the way to the other side. But I did have to build this extra spur here to hold the cars as I'm doing the switch. So that's basically designated just for that. The reason being is that if I did have 2 sets of center beam cars here, the forklifts could not get to one of the sides of the cars either way, whether they're on the longer track or on the shorter spur track. So that's why I had to build it this way. So I'm now delivering the loaded cars that are going to be used for the lumber on these tracks are for the furniture that they're building in the factory. And now I can go ahead and take the empties off the holding track, once again clearing up that area for the forklifts to be able to unload, and then taking it to the lead behind the paper mill and heading back over to the front of the facility so that I can put it in the holding tracks I can put these cars in the holding tracks and set them up for the manifest train that's going to be picking them up, along with the other cars that are already there waiting. So far, everything has been switched out with the exception of the two box cars to the furniture company and also the tank car that's going to be delivered to the propane factory in the back. Now, again, I'm not sure if I'm going to make that a propane company. It might not even receive a tank car at all. I have to figure out what I want to do back there. Maybe I'll do like a plastic pellet thing with a covered hopper or something. But as of right now, it's just a tank car. And if I do make it a propane company, I know that propane tanks are usually white and not black. So I'd have to purchase some white cars for that. What I do know is that I can't get a very long car back there because I don't think the lead will allow me to put such a long car back there. I gotta double check that. So now, as the locomotive pulls out the last three cars that need to be delivered, obviously, like I said before, the wood chip cars are being used to just kind of pull everything out first, so then they can be stored in the back of the track, back of the holding track. But what I need to do here is spot the tank car temporarily here because I don't have room to get the other two box cars around, and then also get these center beam cars and the wood chip cars back in. By doing it this way, I'm able to just basically set up these four cars right here for the manifest train to pick up, and I can just put them neatly in the longer of the two tracks that I have designated to just hold cars for arrival and departure. Once again, keeping in mind that the cars that I'm placing in these tracks have to be in the correct track because some of them are longer than others, and obviously they will not fit. So this is a nice way to do it with the 50-foot cars in the shorter track and the longer cars in this longer track. So what I'm doing here now is what I was trying to explain before. I no longer have that much room to keep this tank car at bay while I deliver the other cars. So I decided to just leave them there, leave the tank car there, and just work on getting these box cars around. So once again, I'm at the runaround, and I'm going to switch here on the turnout that leads to the back of the facility, bring them over to the next lead, and these cars are short, so I can do two at a time without a problem at all. That they actually fit in there without any issues, and I still have plenty of track in the back. And then switch my turnouts so that I can go ahead and do the same thing I did before, which is pull out the cars that are currently, at the factory, which would be the loaded cars. So I'm pulling the loaded cars out, and I'm going to use the same temporary track that I used for the lumber to spot them while I deliver the empty cars to the company, and those will be filled with finished furniture. So here we go. We're going over to the holding track next to the center beam cars temporarily. Obviously, because like I said before, they need to make sure that these tracks are empty in order to allow for the forklifts to get in there. So once again, I make my switch. I try to uncouple now so I don't have to be uncoupling that far away. It's hard to reach back there. And shove back into the building. Now, obviously, when I have the real locomotive, this is all going to be happening a lot slower and a lot more carefully. But right now, I'm just trying to go through the movements to test out everything and to see if I need to make any small adjustments or big adjustments for that matter. But so far, it seems like it's pretty good. Things are working quite nicely. Now I'm going to go back and grab those box cars to get them out of the way and to place them in the holding tracks at the front once again for the manifest train to pick up. Now here's where I wish I had a little bit more room. What I want to do here is try to grab the tank car to make it a one move, a two facility pickup. But obviously, I realized that I don't have enough room on the lead behind the paper mill to do that. So I decided to just take the boxcars alone and bring them to the front. The tank car is going to have to be a one car move, because there's no way for me to get any more space back there. I'm maxed out. So I'm taking the boxcars around the tank car, and the room that was left over is for these two cars to slide into. So as you can see, I'm lining myself up for the tracks that are next to the center beam cars and the wood chip cars and all that stuff. And those are going to live with the other box cars. They're short enough that they clear without fouling up the runaround track. So now my last delivery is this tank car. So I'm going to line everything up so that I can get this tank car around over to the lead, and then obviously make my way to the back of the facility through this turnout like I have been with the other cars. As I make this last move, this is the last spur that I have in the facility. I was trying to get one more spur in that maybe went in front of this tan building over here, or maybe just slightly further away from the tank car to put some kind of small facility there. But it seems very, very difficult to get that curve to work out, and then also to be able to put anything in there without having a lead behind that tank car that I just picked up. So now I have my tank. What you're going to notice is that I'm using the other turnout that now I have room for, because two tank cars will fit back there, but not two 40-foot box cars and a tank car. That's just a little too long, unfortunately, and I really can't go any further back. But I'm doing it that way so that I can make everything work. What I did here, though, is that I realized that I'd be once again blocking the road. So I went past the road with the loaded car, and I just left it there. This way trucks and stuff can get past it. So now I just delivered the empty. That's going to get filled. And I'm going to now take the full tank and bring it once again back to the front of the facility so that I can set it up along with the other trains that are going to be picked up by the manifest train at the front holding tracks. So this is the last move before the switcher locomotive says goodbye. And I'm going to place this tank car right in front of this wood chip hopper. And I think what I do here is that I push back even further. Now, I have more room back there. That's why I'm pushing back. But the last car went off the tracks, as you can see there, because I haven't made those tracks long enough yet. But they will be that long. And it gives me just enough room, as you can see here, to clear the locomotive. And I'm not fouling up the track at all. So that is excellent. The switcher will now live in that little lead and wait for the next train to drop off its next load. But before that, obviously the manifest train is going to come through and pick up all the cars that are waiting from all these industries to be delivered to their customers. Not sure how this is going to work in the future with operations, but I can imagine somebody working just this one section here while other people are working on other facilities around the layout. And I think it'll be a nice little interesting area to be in without having to move around too much. Everything is within arm's reach, and everything can be switched out without any major difficulty. Now I'm just hoping that I can get all the track work glued down exactly how I have it here, and without causing any electrical problems with frogs and little issues that could potentially occur when you have so many switches lined up so close together. So as the manifest train gets ready to pick these cars up, it has once again broken its train up to pick up the two strings of cars that have been set up by the switcher locomotive. Obviously, when we do the switch here, the first load had the four wood chip cars that were shorter, causing a little bit more traffic in the holding tracks, and that's why they had to be placed on the runaround track temporarily. But with the shorter, well, not shorter, but the less amount of longer wood chip cars, obviously that was not necessary. So I was able to get everything into the holding tracks. Now, maybe in the future I'll have three of the longer wood chip cars delivered instead of just two. But as of right now, I feel like two is plenty. And so we're going to just go with that for right now. So the locomotive is obviously making its way back to the first string of cars with the 10 car here. And I had to be careful with this because if the pickup was a little bit further up on the train, like closer to the locomotive, I would have had to have a buffer car, like a covered hopper full of sand or something like that, to pick up this tank car, because tank cars are not supposed to be right behind the locomotive. So since it's not, it doesn't matter. I was able to just hook it up to this box car here, and now we're obviously going to pull it out of the holding track, freeing up that track for the next train to deliver its goods and its next string of cars. And obviously we're going to have to go back just one more time to grab the other string of cars waiting on the second holding track. And again, if there was a boxcar back there that was going to be spotted, now would be a good time to switch it out, or place it, or whatever needed to happen to make sure that it was in the right place at the right time. I want you to take a look at the buildings in the back. Obviously, these are just flat panels of other buildings. But what it is the brick buildings is basically the back panels of the mill, of the paper mill. I like to buy kits and not finish them completely. I guess you kind of call that kit bashing, but I just feel like it's a waste of very good, quality kits to have back panels on these buildings. Unless you're going to get back there and take pictures, or have something, that you're going to constantly be shooting footage, I don't think it's necessary. So what I do is I build the buildings kind of 3/4 of the way, and I take the back panels and the side panels that are not exposed, and I use them to build more buildings. So that's what I did with the brick building here. That's two of the back panels that are not being used, and also the side panel. So it gives it the effect that there's a whole another building there. I'm going to paint it another color probably, or a different shade of brick, so that it looks like it's not part of the same kit, because that does look a little silly when you have everything look the same. I did the same thing with the tan building you see in the back there. I took out the back panel and the side panel and was able to make two separate structures for the cement company that I have on the other side of the layout. I want you to take a look at the coil car that's about to be shown right here, that's facing the wall. That coil car is facing the spot where I'm going to make a hole in the wall and allow for the cars to go straight into that storage space that I have back there. So there's about, there's a good probably 2 or 3 feet there where I can, place a shelf type thing on the inside of the wall and lay one long track on there that will allow about, 8 to 10 cars to be placed there. So that'll be one large facility. And what I'll do is I'll mock up some kind of a styrene. I'll scratch build a structure that has a portal for that entranceway. And then the styrene is going to wrap around the corner of the wall here so that it'll look like it extends back further. The one thing I did not do very well with this whole thing was that I put these spurs really close to those corners. And so I'm having a little trouble squeezing in, styrene for these scratch build buildings, but I'll figure something out. So this basically concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video of my current project, and I'm looking forward to making more videos as I make progress. If you'd like to see more videos on this particular project or any other of my projects, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rhythm Railroad, and also click on the bell icon to be notified as new videos come out.